youtube.com/MugenLord. Subscribe to the channel for gaming news, updates, discussion, and live streams. Signing off.
Hey guys, this is MugenLord here, and I'm back again with another video. And today we're going to talk about Google Stadia. Now, I did mention about Google Stadia in a previous video. I mean, I've done it months ago when they first announced it a few months ago, and I haven't really talked about it since. But if you want to definitely hear my thoughts on that, I'll post that in the card above in this video. But the reason why I want to come back to this topic is because Google themselves, and like with Google Stadia and the president, they're really making some bold statements here. Now, we know that cloud gaming is what everyone is trying to reach. Everyone is trying to aim for this. We do have cloud gaming coming, you know, with the Xbox, and especially Microsoft is definitely looking forward and looking into this even more, especially when the next Xbox is on the horizon and everything. So they definitely want to push the envelope for that, and I think that's definitely going to be the future for gaming, cloud gaming, be able to play anywhere on the go. And it seemed like Google Stadia really wants to be the pioneer behind all this, and I do want to give them credit for that, because it has to start somewhere. Someone has to start this first, and I believe that being the first to do it is not going to be perfect, but eventually when the technology get there, I think it's going to get a bit better. But the reason why I want to talk about this is because, you know, if you're a person that's into fighting games, if you play anything competitively, if you're a person that's into fighting games, first-person shooters, or RTS, you know, aka real-time strategy games and everything, you definitely want to know how this is going to work out as far as feedback is concerned, as far as lag, latency, and the whole 9 yards, especially if you're into fighting games. Is because in a recent interview, especially in Ford magazines, they said that they are trying to be, and they're going to be, the future of, you know, of gaming in general, where they're going to be the #1, you know, source of gaming. Like, it's going to surpass cloud gaming, and everything's going to surpass the current form of, you know, wired connection and just local gaming in general. So it says, Google says Stadia will reduce latency by predicting button presses, which pretty much leaves everyone confused, because I'm confused. Like what do they mean by this? And from a quote, they was pretty much saying that ultimately we think in a year or two we'll have games that are running faster and feel more responsive in the cloud than they do locally, regardless of how powerful the local machine is. So I don't know. It says the term latency, negative latency, is brought up, in which Google aims to reduce latency by boosting frames per second, but also by predicting user inputs. As in, Stadia will predict what button you're going to press in a given context in a game, and then press that button before you even do it, which will make it feel instant when you do press the button. What? Wait. Like, you hear this? How does that work? Especially in fighting games. How does that work? Because fighting games requires a lot of, you know, well-timed inputs, especially given in certain situations, when you come to spacing, when it comes to zoning, when it comes to mind reads and everything. So how would Google Stadia know when to press a certain button at a particular crucial moment in a fighting game? How does that work? So you're not really like reducing latency. You're pretty much, this is pretty much guesswork. This is pretty much filling the holes and pray that it works out. I can see this being a frustrating mechanic, because what if you don't want to press that button, or in a given situation? What if you want to bait out an opponent and fake your opponent out and everything? How would Google Stadia predict that? How would Google Stadia know that in a given situation, in the context, you know, of a particular match? That just, I don't know, man. Like, how does that combat in latency? I don't see that working at all. I just think it sounds kind of ridiculous, you know. And the thing is, I don't want to be the quick to judge, because we haven't seen it in action. We haven't seen it in you know, in the works or anything like that. But to just hear something like that is that their game and the AI is going to pretty much press the button for you before you even press it. But how would it know? It's predicting, which means taking the ultimate guess. It may not even be the right guess. So it's like this game could set you up, you know, especially if you're playing a fighting game against an opponent, and this game can set you into a situation that you didn't even want to put yourself in. And I just think it sounds quite ridiculous. And to say that within 2 years that they want this game, they want Google Stadia, and they're promising within the 2 years that this Google Stadia is going to be like the echelon or the of just gaming in general and the go-to for gaming in general, makes me believe that they really don't have anything well put together out the door for Google Stadia. That Google Stadia may be quite rocky on its launch, and within, you know, the 2 years that, you know, it may not be as promising as they're hoping for, and that they're trying to promise us within the next 2 to 3 years that it will be much better. So I don't really know about this Google Stadia is really having people scratch their heads, and I just think we have to wait and see. Now my friend Nathaniel, he went out and reserved the Google Stadia, and he has that package to where if you reserve it, you're allowed to also, you know, allow a friend or extra person gain access to it. So what he's doing is that he got it, and he's going to give me I guess a key code or whatever it is that allow another person to be able to experience Google Stadia. So I will be testing out Google Stadia for myself, and definitely give you feedback on it. And as I told my friend Nathaniel, and like if you hang around me, then we always come up with these funny terms. Now, what my friend Nathaniel's doing with Google Stadia, I call what he's doing is shadow cloning. Now, shadow cloning, if you're watching Naruto, is when Naruto makes shadow clones, or when Shinobis make shadow clones, and they send their shadow clones out there to do, you know, take some of the hits, or, you know, bait out their opponents and stuff, and make sacrifices so that the actual Shinobi themselves don't actually take the hit. That's how characters like Naruto does his shadow clones, to gain knowledge of his opponent before he actually put himself out there on the line and risk, you know, getting hurt and stuff like that. So when it comes to video games, or when it comes to any piece of equipment, I call it shadow cloning. What my friends does, like they go out there, and especially when I have a bad feeling about a particular game that I know that I think the game is going to suck, or I have a feeling that the game will suck, and my friend Nathaniel just have this habit of going out there shadow cloning and buying the game anyway, and just to find out that the game actually did suck and he wasted his money and everything, or he tried to convince me that the product was a good product. He tries to convince himself that, you know, that his purchase was well deserved. So in this sense, with Google Stadia, he's shadow cloning. He's shadow cloning for to get the Google Stadia, and at the same time, I get a chance to actually try it and see it for myself without me not, you know, spending money on it at all. So I'm definitely gonna keep you up to date with Google Stadia and give you my overall opinion of Google Stadia once I do finally get my hands on it, and just give you my overall opinions on it. But I definitely want to hear your thoughts about Google Stadia, and also how this new system of combat and latency through button press predictions and everything. Definitely want to hear your thoughts on that, and how that will affect fighting games in general. So if you like the video, make sure you like, subscribe, pass the video around. And if you want to hear any more news and updates on Google Stadia itself, make sure you hit the bell to be notified. This is MugenLord signing off. See you game fiends later. Peace out. It looks like you reached the end of the video. Well, while you're at it, check out some of my other discussion videos by clicking on the annotations below, and don't forget to follow me on other social media platforms to stay up to date with future content. Signing off.